district attorney of Santa Barbara. Um, if I can legitimately, and I'm telling you now I can, take all those lie detector tests that you'll see, the people will see who are interested in this website, about what I did for the autos and the lockers and how they never told me about my Tevasand. It was their requirement, it was part of our contract. They all know what monsters they've been to me, starting with my ex-wife, Tracy Jordan. She knows everything. Even though she has borderline personality disorder, she thinks she's done just fine. She thinks she's done just fine. She couldn't pass a single lie detector test of the questions I could put to her. But here's what I'm asking you. This is my victim's impact statement from now on, and it's an opera. I don't want them to try to stop my opera. I don't want them to stop my activities. They legitimately owe me the $100 million on the invoice. I want to continue to make a big deal about that. But if I can pass the lie detector test, and I can. Now here's the thing, Joyce. When I was in Lake Tahoe, I told the doctor that my dog was not going to be given any more cancer medicine, and I was going to have to let nature take its toll. And when I did finally make an appointment to have her put to sleep at Foothill Veterinary Hospital in Pasadena, I did so at her request. It was one of those deals where she looked at me and she said, "It's time," and I said, "Okay." I called and I made an appointment for Monday morning. I stayed up all night with her on Sunday. I spent the whole day with her on Sunday, stayed up all night with her on Sunday night. I had to take her outside. She couldn't walk by that point. And when we took her to the hospital, there was a radio playing. It was playing the #1 FM station in Los Angeles, the drive time radio station. There was a little speaker right up in the ceiling, one of those little round speakers with the holes in them, made out of metal. And as we're waiting for the doctor, and the couple of assistants are there, I'm hearing a song that I wasn't familiar. It was called Magic by Olivia Newton-John. Now, I thought that was close enough to being that really caught my attention, that song. Like I said, I wasn't familiar with it, but if you listen to the lyrics of that song, you can hear that it is a song about an angel looking down, taking care of us living people. The doctor came in. We had spoke for a few moments. He happened to be the doctor that I cared least about, or I didn't like him very much at Foothill. And he explained how quickly the shot would work, and he gave her the shot. I heard in the ceiling the opening piano notes of Desperado, the song Desperado that she was named after. I looked toward the ceiling, toward the radio speaker where the Desperado, the song, was coming from, and I saw a mist leave Desperado and head upward. The song Desperado was by Linda Ronstadt. I don't even know if I was familiar with that version of that song. But they played that song, and they played, right after that, they played the Eagles version of Desperado. And then I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to take a lie detector test. Hopefully, I'll either I'll either ask the polygraph examiner, "Will you keep this a secret if I tell you what the spirits told me over the radio?" And I'll take a lie detector test about them confirming that this was a gift to me from them. It confirmed to both of us, it confirmed to Tracy and I, that there are at least spirits that are interested in our behalf, one way or the other. They talked to me directly. It wasn't the DJ, and the fact that they pre-program and pre-plan their radio, all the songs that they were going to play 2 weeks in advance of it being played. And it wasn't just close to when Desperado died, it was instantaneous with Desperado dying that the opening piano note was heard. So that's an exact thing. Well, Desperado was with me in Lake Tahoe when I designed the Tevis handle. I'll show you a picture of Desperado and I later that day. After that big lightning bolt came down, scared the shit out of Desperado. But I looked down on the sidewalk and there was a guy with a sandal on his foot. And he stepped into the middle of this square, you know, the sidewalk square, Joyce E. Dudley, and it just hit me. It came over me like a ton how the Tevis handle was going to be made, and it was going to be the biggest thing in the world. And after Tracy got back and I told her excitedly about it, but here's the thing. Here's why my archives are going to have the original drawings from that moment, Joyce E. Dudley. It's because the only thing on the table, we had a dining room table set up where we would have our computer and so forth, was letterhead. Ed Decker's letterhead, and that's what I made all the fantastic drawings and the notes about what the sandal would be, about being an adjustable, waterproof sandal, the first in the world. It was so amazing to me. I did it on letterhead, and I know how pissed Doug would be about us wasting his letterhead. But I did call him Joyce E. Dudley that day, and I just told him I did it. Meaning, I saved the company and I came up with the product that I promised him I would. Joyce E. Dudley. After I take a lie detector test and pass all of that, and they've got my archives, Joyce E. Dudley, and then I start talking about all my other inventions, and it's all wrapped around this music. One of the things that I'm going to take another lie detector test about is that the song Pamela's Dream, which is about Pamela Meyer Locker, came to me as a full force thing that I had to get through. You know, I had to interpret it. All of these things, I'm telling you, Joyce, I'm here to do good. And the fact that I'm here to stop Israel in its tracks, that makes me very vulnerable. So the nicest guy you've ever met, the guy that gave up his job for the black man, and I was willing to give up my whole position, Rebecca Sherrick, at Aurora College. I was a popular student, but I saw Richard Wasson, who later became Spider and became a very popular student to the group that, you know, we had different groups, and stayed at the college for years because it became his savior. He considered me the greatest thing that had ever been in his life until the end of his life. And I stood up for him, and I was the only one. And it changed everything in his life forever. It's time. Scott Palmer's got to answer for what he did, and there's a reason why I want to become the biggest donor in the history of Aurora University, and that has to do with Scott Palmer. It has to do with me balancing the scales. But I'd also like to give free tuition to any student ever who wants to go to Aurora University, and certainly my auto invention and the royalties that I could keep instead of them being stolen from me, like Carl Lopker stole my royalties, like Doug Otto stole my royalties, like Bree and Pam swindled Tracy. They used that womanly, finagling and snookering, and then Tracy, she had to get rid of me somehow, but she had to make it seem like it was all my fault because she's the great Tracy Jordan, Crimmy, Insco, Taylor, whatever the hell she thinks she is at that very second. She is the walking around definition of borderline personality disorder, but she should be a famous designer now, and we should have been able to take her actual name, which was taken from a 50-year-old business in Santa Barbara, Therese Ann Taylor, that happened to be a clothing retailer, and Tracy's sweaters were good. And Rona Barrett, the famous correspondent, she'd call the house and was trying to get Tracy to keep up the business. We just couldn't. She was pregnant, and we had to take a real job. And if those monsters had paid us our royalties, she'd be famous, not for being a whore, not for having to deal with all of this, not for me having my life destroyed, but for being who she really was supposed to be. And if she'd been a good wife, I would have been the Sam Maloof of the electric guitar accessory. And maybe from there I would have built up, that would have been 20 years ago, I would have built that into 12 different things. Who knows? I'm an inventive guy when it comes around. I didn't think I was going to write any more songs. And here I wrote You Can't Unhear This for you, specifically Joyce E. Dudley, well, for all four of you women, and it's about Tracy and her selling me out. So if she'd been a wife like Elfrida Maloof, I would be famous right now, not for this calling her out on being a whore. So, you can't unhear this, any of you, my latest song, but it's also true. You can't unhear this. QAD was a fraud. They took half of Evan's interest in QAD. Decker's Outdoor, a $25,000 insurance swindle started that business. You can't unhear this.